Good morning, my loves. Happy Friday. Beautiful day here at the lake. It is super bright. It's already 60 some degrees. It's like 6:30 in the morning. High today is 104 or 105. Welcome to Arizona. Yeah. So last evening, Finn, give it a rest. Last evening, somebody reached out to me and wanted to know if I could talk to somebody that just really needed a good talking to. Okay, I'll give it take a crack at it, have them give me a call. And, this individual called. Now, in my 66 years, I've met some people that were full of anger and rage and hate, but not to this extent. Wow. I mean, whoa. And this guy pretty much hated anything and anybody that wasn't exactly like him. That was it. And younger than me. I mean, I'm 66, so I can understand people my age and older being very stuck in their ways and not liking young whippersnappers, and being not totally for AI and computers because we weren't raised with them, and I get that. But no, this guy's younger than me, considerably, but he's just pissed. And he was raised by his parents and his grandparents. Okay, that's great. I'm glad that you had your grandparents involved in your life. That's wonderful. He was very surprised that I didn't jump down his throat and scream and yell at him and try and convince him he's wrong. It's not my place to do that. And I told him, I'm not here to judge anybody for any reason. Your friend just wanted me to talk to you. So talk. Tell me about you. Raised in the South. Okay, that was kind of apparent. Raised by, like I said, his parents and his grandparents. Didn't like anybody that wasn't white and Christian, bottom line, and they had to be Republican. I said, okay, why is that? Well, my family, going back, a million generations, that's just how we believe. That's how I was raised. That's how I'm raising my kids. Okay. You raise your kids however you want to raise your kids. I'm not here to tell you you're right or wrong. Just keep it going. And he started in a course on politics, which I think everybody has strong opinions of these days. And he said he felt betrayed. He's mad. I mean, he was really, really mad. And he said he felt very betrayed because his family had always voted the Republican ticket, and now we're in the middle of a war, and on and on and on and on. I said, I understand that. And he said, and you're going to tell me I'm damn wrong. I said, no, I'm going to tell you you have every right to feel whatever you feel. We all have every right to feel whatever we feel. It's okay. Now, I don't want you taking that out on somebody. I don't want you getting violent. I don't want you breaking things or shooting somebody. You can feel whatever you want to feel. Don't shove your opinions down somebody else's throat. But you can feel whatever you want to feel. I don't care. I don't talk politics with people. I'm not going to do it. You're just asking for trouble. But I understand that you feel betrayed. That's fine. I said, you have to remember when you vote, because he said that they had always voted for the ticket. They voted just straight Republican. It didn't matter if Dr. Seuss and the bunny rabbit, was on that ticket. That's who they're voting for. I said, you need to maybe consider the person. Not vote the ticket, but look at the person and their background and their history and more about them. Just think about that. And, he conceded that might be something to consider. Okay. And he said he didn't like anybody that wasn't white. He didn't trust him. And I said, where's your family from? And he told me the state. I said, no, baby, that's not what I mean. I said, your heritage. Where are you from? Well, they had been, from the South for generations, but they came over from Ireland and Scotland to the best he knew. I said, okay, has anybody ever done a DNA test? He said, no. They don't believe in those. I said, well, just for the heck of it, you might, just for fun. You might learn something. He said he didn't want to know. Doesn't do it, won't do any good, won't change his mind. He knows, he looks at his skin, it's white, that's all that matters. I said, okay, look at me. He said, okay. I said, what am I? Just take a wild guess. He said, well, you're white. I said, well, my skin is definitely white, that's guaranteed. He said, well, he would guess I'm Scottish because I have red hair. And I'm outspoken. And he said, probably from England and Scotland is what he'd guess. I said, okay, well, you're kind of right. Because several years ago, I had DNA testing. And I'm from Wales, Scotland, France, Belgium, and I am 2% Tongan. And he didn't know what that meant. I said, Tonga. Well, he didn't know what that meant. And I said, black. Tonga is an island. It's a country. Yeah, I'm 2% black. Well, I wouldn't be spreading that around. Why? Why not? That's my heritage. It's who I am. I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm proud of that because we're all mixed, all of us. I don't think, other than indigenous families, and I had to explain that, people that are Native American, as they say, or Inuit, which are from Alaska or from Mexico, they are, they were here first. They are the originals. They were the very, very first Americans. Talk about born and bred. They are from this country. We're the people that moved here. From, in my family, it would have been Scotland and Wales and France and Belgium. I don't know who came first. Doesn't matter. But everybody ended up coming here because we're here. He said, yeah, but how do you explain that 2%? And I said, easy. I don't know how far back that goes, and it doesn't matter. But somewhere along the line, either someone fell in love with someone and they had a baby, or somebody had a slave that they raped. I mean, there's no nice way to put it, but they took advantage of, and there was a baby that was white and black. And you start mixing them because if you're from Tonga back in the day, it's kind of like being indigenous. That's where they're from. That's them. But you're bringing in all of the ancestry from whoever assaulted them, whether that's, the Scottish Wales from the UK, whatever, from Europe, and you start blending all that together. And then that baby went out and had babies. That went out and had babies, that went out and had babies, that went out and had babies. And here I am. That's how it happens. It's kind of like being a mutt, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. I love it. I love diversity. He said, why? I said, if you appreciate other cultures, if a culture scares you, and he admitted that a lot of different races and religions really scare him. I said, then you need to educate yourself on that. Then you're not afraid because you're only afraid of the unknown. So educate yourself. It's that simple. It's easy. So we kind of put that one to bed there. I guess I'm not expecting a Christmas card from him, but I'm not on his shit list. So I'll take that as a plus. And then he jumped on the religious bandwagon. He doesn't like anybody. He was raised not to trust anyone that wasn't Christian. I said, okay, what sect? Well, what do you mean? Well, oh my honey, there's all kinds of different types of Christians. You have Catholic, Roman Catholic, Orthodox, Christian, Episcopal, Presbyterian. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Oh, well, he hadn't thought about that. Are you sure them Catholics are Christian? I promise you, Catholics are Christian. Absolutely. So are Mormons, because Mormon is Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Well, he didn't know that either. Well, now I'm confusing him. He said he didn't know all of this. He said he was raised Southern Baptist, big shock, and that's all he ever knew. And I said, so are you accepting, you said Christian, so Catholics are okay, Mormons are okay, everybody's okay. Well, I didn't say that. I said, okay. He said, but them Jews. I said, hold it. Now hold it. There again, which type? Because in the Jewish faith, you have all different types. You have Hasidic, you have Orthodox, you have Conservative, you have Reformed. Who are you talking about? Well, now I'm confusing him. I said, it's the same way with Muslims. There's all different sects, S-E-C-T-S. That means divisions, departments. There's all different kinds. I can't talk, all different types. So know what you're talking about. And just because someone is from India or Pakistan does not mean that they're Muslim. You're assuming a lot of things. Well, he didn't know that. I said, okay, what are your thoughts on Buddhists and people that are Tao and Hindu? Well, he didn't know about that. See, you need to educate yourself. I don't mean Google. Don't Google. I want you to, where he lives, I sincerely doubt if he's going to find anybody that's Buddhist. I never know. I said, but I want you to really research, not Wikipedia research, but really look into these things so you know who you're hating, because you're just tossing out blanket statements and stereotypes. Don't do that. I said, okay, what do you think about pizza? He said, it's okay, I like pizza. I said, hold it. So you like all pizza. You like pizza with anchovies and, I started pineapple and Canadian bacon. I went over the whole thing. He said, no, I just like that. I said, okay. But when you say you like pizza, that's a blanket statement. You're saying it about all of the pizza. So be careful what you're saying. The pizza analogy made sense. Thank God. So why are you so full of hate? Is it just everything that your family taught you to be this angry and this resentful of everybody? Well, now, when I was in Little League, okay, what happened in Little League? Well, he wanted to be a first baseman really bad, and a kid of another race was made the first baseman, and he had to play shortstop. I said, shortstop is an important position. Yeah, but my family, we always play first base. I said, see, you're a trendsetter. That's what you are. You are the trendsetter. You're not afraid to step out of the groove and do your own thing and be a damn good shortstop. Hadn't thought of that. But he never liked this race ever since this child beat him out at playing first base. I said, don't you think that's kind of silly? Because you probably were a good shortstop. Well, then he started bragging on some of the plays that he made and all that. I said, see, it worked out. You can't be mad at a child, a baby, for where it's born. The color of its skin? Do you have kids? He does. I said, okay, so you have one child that's a blonde, one child that's a brunette that has brown hair. Do you love one more than the other? Well, no. I said, can they choose when they were born what color hair they had, what color eyes they had? Well, no. There you have it. People can't control the color of their skin, the color of their eyes. You can wear contacts, of course. The color of your hair. Of course, you can dye it, but a baby, a toddler, a child can't help. They are who they are. They're born into the family they're born into the culture and the race and the religion they're born into, just like you were. You were born into a family in the South that were Southern Baptist. Obviously, you said you were Republican, and you have this mindset. Great. That's you. But what about me? Do you dislike me? Do you hate me? Well, he didn't say that. I said, okay, I'm from the Midwest. I'm not from the South. It was just giving him a lot to think about. And he wasn't getting angry. He was a little pissy because his theories were being shot down right and left. And that's okay. It gave him something to think about and to contemplate. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe the learned patterns and behaviors and beliefs he had been taught were toxic. It's that simple. And he asked me a question. He said, have I ever been married? And I said, I'm divorced. He said, did you work? And I said, well, yeah, of course I worked. I was a nurse for years. I've been a nurse, once a nurse, always a nurse. I will be a nurse 47 years in June. He said, so your husband let you work? I said, no, honey. Nobody let me do anything. I wanted to, because marriage is a partnership. I'm not a possession. You're not a possession. You don't buy and sell people. You're blessed with them. You're blessed with your children. You don't own them. They're a gift from God. When you marry somebody, you're forming a partnership. Look at it like that instead of owning somebody. What they bring to the table, what they can bring to the table. If they want to work, let them work. Whatever it can, it might be. Maybe they want to teach. Maybe they want to be a nurse. Maybe they're a doctor. He said, don't get me started on that. And I said, on what? He said, college people. Okay, here we go. So what's wrong with people that go to college? Well, they think they're better than everybody else. Don't you think? No, I went to college. Oh, well, Most people that go to college think they're better than everybody else. And you know this because he works in a factory. That's great. I'm proud of you for working. There's nothing wrong with working in a factory. Where would we be in this country if we didn't have factory workers and laborers and truck drivers and farmers and carpenters and, construction workers? We need these people. He appreciated that I acknowledge that and that I respect what he does for a living. I said, but I'm sure at some point in time you or your kids got sick and you had to go to the doctor. Well, yeah. Don't you want a doctor that kind of went to medical school? Well, yeah, kind of. Okay. People that work in that hospital, the nurses, the scrub techs, they need an education. The people that work in radiology, they need to go to college to get that education so they can take care of you. Okay. I said, have you ever, God forbid, been in a lawsuit? Well, he went into this whole thing about a property dispute with a neighbor. I said, okay, but you needed an attorney. Did you get an attorney? He got a damn good attorney. I said, okay. Did it go to court? Yes. And the judge said, and he went into the whole thing. I said, yeah, but that attorney went to law school. So did the judge. So where would you be had they not gone to school? We need people just as much as we need laborers and construction workers and farmers. We need people that go to college that have educations behind them so they can take care of other people, so they can be the teachers that teach the kids, so they can be the doctors and the nurses, so they can be the therapists. There's a place for everybody in this world. And it's not that people that go to college think they're better than everybody else. I mean, there are some people that just have just ridiculous egos, but you're going to find that in any line of work, in, any culture, in any community. It doesn't matter. Don't you know farmers, people that you work with at the factory that think they're better than everybody else? Well, he went off on a tangent on that. I said, okay, but they're not. You just said you went to school with them. They're not any better than you. In their mind, they are. Okay, that's a them thing, not a you thing. He asked me to explain that. I said, they're making it about them, and you're allowing their issues to be about you. You're dragging yourself into it. No, they can think whatever they want to think about themselves. You worry about you. It's that simple. It's that easy. You do you. Let them do them. Let people pray to God however they want to pray to God, because God understands all voices, all lines of communication, all languages. God knows. And I sincerely believe this. And in some cultures, they don't call God God. They call him Allah or creator or source, depending on your belief system. But he knows what's in your heart. He knows what's in your mind. He knows what's coming out your mouth, and he knows how you're acting. You cannot bullshit God. And he kind of thought that was funny. He said, yeah, but you're right. I said, of course I am. Yeah, you're not going to bullshit God. You can bullshit a lot of people, but you're sure as hell not going to bullshit God. You can bullshit yourself. Bottom line, God knows all, sees all. He knows we're having this conversation right now, and he's probably getting a chuckle out of it. He said, well, yeah, he probably is. I said, but I don't want you going through life angry. You're in your 40s. Honey, you have half your life left. I don't want you to go through it angry, full of hate and bitterness. Just let people be whoever they are. And if you don't understand a culture, a religion, a belief system, research it. Find out about it. What about your kids? Do they go to public school? They used to, but now they're homeschooling. Why are you homeschooling? Is it, because of violence in schools and drugs? Nope. Because of the different kinds of kids that were at the school. Okay. One of his kids was invited to a birthday party, and they didn't like the family. Okay. Why? And he told me. It was a racial/cultural issue. Okay. Why? Well, I don't know anything about it. I said, exactly, you could have gone. You should have gone. You should have reached out. You or your wife should have reached out to that family and said, thank you for inviting, my kid, whatever, male or female. And would it be okay if we came too? We'd just really like to come along. Do you mind? You might need a little help. We'd be happy to pitch in. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be happy for the help, because if you're having a house full of kids, you need all the help you can get. Why not? Well, they might speak another language. Well, I'm sure their child speaks English. He's in school. You don't know until you go. So you're letting fear, the what ifs, rule your life. What if you're wrong? You have a 50-50 shot there that you're right, 50% you're wrong. Go find out. Just find out. Instead of excluding these people, learn. We have some amazing food in this world from all over the world, including pizza. I said, you like Mexican food? Oh yeah, loves them some Mexican food. Well, where do you think that came from? New Hampshire? I don't think so. It's okay to learn about it. Learn about Mexico and Spain, south of the border. Let your wife take a cooking class. Just find out. It's okay for your kid to have friends of different cultures. Invite them to your house so they can learn your culture. Because I know if you're from the South, your wife is a good cook. I mean, that goes without saying. I said, tell me right now, does your wife know how to make cornbread, smothered pork chops, country fried steak, and sweet tea? And he started laughing. I said, and I bet she pulls off one hell of a peach cobbler. He said, it's like you're in our house. I said, I know these things. I've lived in the South. It's okay. Just let people learn about you and your culture and your family. But I want you to allow your kids and your family to learn about theirs. It's only fair. Music. Music is from all over the world. We all love music. That's okay. Art, books, clothing, food. It's from all over the world. It's okay. I don't want you going through life afraid. And I don't want you teaching your children to be afraid. Let them embrace diversity. And that means appreciating different cultures, different religions, different lifestyles. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean it's their belief system. It just means they've educated themselves on it. And they're okay with it. They're okay with letting a family be whatever they are. And I told him, my besties, my best friends on this planet are all different religions and all different cultures. And I trust them with my life. I love them to the moon and back. It's that simple. Just open your heart, open your eyes, open your ears, and close your mouth. It's that simple. And he said, well, I think I'm glad I talked to you. I said, well, I know I'm glad I talked to you, but just please keep an open mind. He said, one more thing. There's always one more thing. Okay, what? He said, well, what about them gays? I said, what about them? They're people just like you and I are. We all cry the same tears. We all bleed the same blood. Let them live their life their way. Nobody's going to try and force it on you or force it on your kids. It's how they're born. You know how we were talking, some people have red hair, brown hair, blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes. Some people are born gay. That's just how they're hardwired. Don't try and convince them of anything else. I said, back when I was a little girl in elementary school, they were forcing kids to write with their right hand. He said he heard about that from his grandparents. I said, okay. I said, in my class in second grade, I will never forget this, in first and second grade, there was a little boy named Lloyd. And they would tie he was left-handed, and they would tie his hand on his, attach it to his belt with a piece of twine every day to make him learn to write right-handed. And he would sit there and cry because left-handed, he had beautiful handwriting and printing, but right-handed, it just wasn't working. And he would get yelled at every day. He said, well, that's just not right. I said, but people were trying to make him into something he wasn't, to make him fit into their box, into their mold. I said, now by third grade, that had changed. I said, but that little boy, I'll never forget that little boy. He would sit there and he would cry, he would wet his pants. It was so sad seeing this little guy because it was just torture for him to go to school every day. And he was a smart kid. Just let people be who they are. Just be nice to them. That's all you have to do, is be civil and be polite. If you run into somebody in the grocery store, smile and say hi. That's it. That's all you got to do. You don't have to give them a dirty look. You don't have to say anything nasty to them. Just be polite. Hi, how are you? Hold the door open for them. Whatever. Just let them be be them. And if they come into your home, I want you to treat them with the same dignity and respect you treat me with. I have family members that are gay. They are welcome in my home. Their spouses are welcome in my home. I have very close friends that are gay. They are always welcome in my home. Absolutely. So what? Whoever somebody sleeps with or dates, none of my business. Who I date, I mean, that's none of your business. I mean, I'm not gay. But so what? I have gay friends, gay family members. That's fine. Don't judge. Just stop judging. Accept people for who they are as they are, so that they can accept you for who you are as you are. And that would stop a lot of conflict in your life. What if you woke up tomorrow and you weren't full of anger and hate and rage? You could be a little pissy about some things, but there's no more anger and rage. When you watch TV or see something on the news or on your phone, it's just, well, that's them. Whatever. It's a them thing, not a me thing. I gave him a lot to think about, and he said he really appreciated my talking to him and not being uppity. I said, well, you know, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm not any better than anybody else. I'm not any worse than anybody else. I'm just me. You're just you. That's diversity. You accept me for who I am, and I accept you for who you are. That's it. So you've already taken the first step. I just want you to continue the journey. Now, I don't know if I will ever hear back from him again. I may not. I may talk to his wife. He said he might have me talk to his wife one of these days. I would love to talk to her. We'll see what happens. But if you're dealing with hate in your life, or somebody you know is dealing with hate, find out what you're really pissed off about. Is it generational? Something like this guy was taught, his family was, this is how they were raised, this is how we believe. Well, that might not be the way to go. Educate yourself. Don't make blanket statements that you hate everybody of this race, everybody of this religion, everybody of this party. Come on, educate yourself. That's what it's about, education. Once you educate yourself, the fear goes away. If you're afraid, you know, like I was telling him, his child was invited to a party of a family of a different culture. Go, find out, enjoy it. You might learn something. You might find out you love, I don't know, Mexican food. You love Asian food. You don't know until you go and find out. Try it. You might like it. You might learn something. Don't let hate take over your life. You do you, and let everybody else do them. Okay?